It's hard to understand the way that you went out. I bet you're living with a little hint of doubt. Maybe next time when you gotta show your hand, you won't cut and run, you'll finally make a stand. 'Cause I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. Existential questions always get you down. All you want to know is are we lost or found? Is there something that you feel you need to chase? I bet you thought you put me in my place. 'Cause I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. You can run, you can hide, but inside, I'm finally getting to you. Yes, it's true. I still love you, but I am getting to you.
Stand by to initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5,
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2, 1. Mark.
I just realised I didn't actually check the scene before we changed over. Welcome back to the Resupply with me, short guy next door for some reason.
Me, regular size DK.
And me, fan.
Bring you your super professional daily tap of all things Space Marines and Laser Tag. Hello, gentlemen. How are you? I missed you last week. How's things?
Did you
We
though?
missed you too.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate
I think
not being on the show.
I think interviews go better when you're here because, quite honestly, you're way more. You have way more charisma than either DK or I do. So it just makes everything go smoother.
I just fake it.
When you're here, and having me producing the show it's just a terrible idea. I mean, I don't know how to update fonts. It's a problem.
Bug the shit out of me. This stupid Arial regular font on my podcast. Yuck. I had, like I was saying to you guys prior, I haven't had time to watch the show from last week yet, but I am looking forward to checking it out. Just realized I didn't wear a hat. I'm an idiot. Thank you to Azra for being on the show. Appreciate you. I appreciate all our guests for coming on and hanging out with us. It's
Who needs hats? Don't hide those luscious locks.
well, like just
he doesn't want to make people jealous.
Yeah. I can't
like
do
me.
Fan. Yeah.
He doesn't want to make me jealous of his gorgeous, luscious flowing locks.
We did a stream last night for the Game Awards, and it was the Broforce doing the Game Awards recap, and that was the first thing that Blueson said to me. Actually, was like, "Holy shit, your hair's gotten long. It is pretty long. It's getting there." I haven't cut it since the charity pod that we did, the last one. The charity show.
I think that'll probably be the only time you cut your hair from now on.
Maybe.
Will be for charity events.
Yeah. Although I found a massive grey hair in the weekend, or during the week, and I'm not gonna lie, it did bum me out quite a bit, but shit happens. It is what it is.
Welcome to my world, asshole.
I got heaps here, but this was a full proper grey hair.
The whole thing.
Yeah. I was like, oh no.
Wonder if the carpet matches his pubes.
Brilliant. What a reference. Right. We got another guest waiting in the wings, so we'll get to him in a minute. But let's do a quick recap of this week. I want to give a real quick shout out to the LFDGA Laser Force Disc Golf Association Melbourne contingent. They are competing. Most of them are competing in the Melbourne Disc Golf Champs today. This weekend. So,
nice.
Way to rep the brand. Hope you guys do really well. Unfortunately, old man Al this week ruptured his bicep.
Oh no.
Yeah, he was playing around, and now he's
not.
Now he's not for. I think he's going to be sidelined for a significant period of time. So it's a real shame. I'd go into the juicy details, but I don't know if I'm allowed to.
You want to get ripped, not feel something ripped.
That's right. Yeah, Al. But shout out to the rest of you guys who are playing. Hopefully you do really well. Hopefully you enjoy the weekend. Get a taste of that sweet, sweet competition life. We played more lasers this week. And dude, we've been on a run. We've had some really, really good weeks of laser tag. It feels so good to play quality tag. And I don't kind of harp on about it to kind of rub your faces in it. But
a little bit. You do it a little bit.
What can you do?
80-20. But I had a moment this week where I was playing Commander on a team against Light, who is probably a better commander than I am. He was doing work against our rookie. We each had brand new heavies. And he was doing work, but I used my years of experience to help us get that win. I heard the basically Morange, who was the ammo, was defending too hard, and I heard his suit go to 9 lives, and I was at 2 nukes, and so I hit him one more time and went around the corner and dropped both of them, and he ended up dying out of the game. But Light was on. I think he said he was on 9 or 10 grand after about 5 minutes of the game. So,
damn.
Yeah, he was pissed. But yeah, made me happy. Love doing that shit. Fitness lets you down. You got to rely on that muscle up there. But yeah,
and when that lets you down,
time to stop.
Then you die.
Pick
It
up
just
a
happens.
microphone. start a podcast.
Those that can't podcast. Yeah,
correct.
That tracks for this show.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But do you guys have anything you want to talk about before we get to our guest?
I mean, I had something happen to me at work this week that I have not had happen literally in the 10 plus years that I have been with my current department. I actually yelled at somebody on a conference call.
Yeah.
And didn't and not just yelled at them like full on angry tone, aggressive like the whole 9 yards as far as that goes. because it's the best thing ever to get blindsided on a Monday morning by some pissant messenger who knows things that apparently senior management is supposed to be handing down and communicating, but haven't. And so everybody on my wider team found out about some bullshit at the same time. And this guy has the personality of an eggplant. And so
So you literally shot the messenger, is what you did.
okay, so I did, but this guy is also an eggplant scumbag that just has yeah. So I didn't feel necessarily too bad. I still apologized because
Well, as
no.
we've learned in America in the last week and a half, as long as the person is bad, it doesn't matter what happens to them. So
that's fair. But you know, I'm within the corporate machine as far as that goes. So yeah.
I assume that they just didn't flush out of the resupply fast enough, and you just lost your shit. I mean, you know,
I
do
mean,
what you're told.
I mean, no, like I was. I mean, I've been mad in games multiple times, and Steve-O, you've seen it a few times, and
We've all seen
DK,
it.
But
you've
you're
seen it a
referring
few
to the
times.
vein in your forehead, right?
Yeah. But I was literally, and Steve-O, you're like the only one right now that's going to get this reference, and I don't care. I was madder on that call than I was during finals in 06 in Auckland.
Mm-hmm.
I was madder than all of you idiots throwing yourselves into the totem.
Don't let me
repeatedly.
in with these jerks. I was getting
Okay.
fucked up by 2-3 hits up with you.
That's okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
The rest of the idiots throwing themselves into the totem pole, I was like, I was madder at this guy than I was at them. So
Well, you should have been out breaking the totem pole, Steve. I'm gonna go ahead and say that's your fault on this one.
I should have ditched my resupply and just let Rusty and Traj have their way with Than.
that would have been very, very more unpleasant than it already was.
True.
But yeah, no, it was just one of those great corporate moments of what the fuck do you mean that's a thing? And the real big problem, and I'm sorry the story is going on so long, but I'm not, because I need to rant about it, is he tried to do the de-escalating language of, oh, I understand that you sound frustrated. And because he has the personality of an eggplant and a voice to match, all it did was just further piss me off. So like I went from, basically 50 to 100 on that, because
I'll
it was
kill
like,
your family, that kind of shit.
well, it was literally the point of like, oh, you can hear that I'm frustrated? That's so fucking great that you can hear that I'm frustrated. No, I didn't say fucking on the call. I wanted to, but I didn't. But yeah, it was bad. It was, and unfortunately it's not going to get better. So work is going to continue to suck out loud. Well into the first quarter with all of these changes that are being made, because they make no sense whatsoever, and I think they're going to negatively impact a lot of things that
when you inevitably
it's
can't do
bullshit.
the show anymore because you've gone postal at work. You heard it here first, kids. You know exactly what happened. But I'll make sure
Floggings will continue until morale improves.
we'll delete the VOD so that there's no there's no evidence. Daz, you make a great point. If you guys want to see something amazing, we did a show yesterday about it. Our friend Blueson came good on his word. He lost last year's Community Canon Fantasy Critic competition and has completed his punishment, a shot-for-shot remake of the music video Hey Ya by Outcast. I'll put a link in chat if you want to check it out after the show. I highly recommend it. It's brilliant. we debuted it last night on this channel. Unfortunately, because of DMCA, the audio has been blocked, which is a real shame. So you can't hear any of our reactions to it. But yeah, you can still watch it. I turned probably redder than you were this week, Dan, from laughing so hard. I thought I was gonna burst something.
Nice.
I don't think he's ever gone this long without being allowed to say anything. So we're going to bring in our guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show our good friend, Mr. Taipan. Hey, Taipan.
Hello.
How the hell are you, mate?
I am really good. I'm really, really well.
subtle digs at you just because I had you on mute. You couldn't rebut, so...
I'm not even going to lie. I thought you were going to come in on the angry part, and I was like, come on, guys. This is the easiest cheap shot that you're ever going to take. And then Dan started talking about eggplants, and I was like, now you're just talking about me and Andrew. Like,
thanks for coming on the show, bro. Like, obviously, the Laser Force community have known you for quite some time, but I wanted to get your recounts of a competition that happened here in my home city. Last month? When were you here?
Oh, you guys had a Laser Force tournament? I didn't know that.
yeah. So end of November. So
yeah, right.
Kind of about 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
So why were you here? Why did you text me out of the blue saying, "Hey, bro, what are you up to tonight?"
Yeah, so basically, Auckland hosted the 2024 Zone World Championships. So I've crossed to the dark side at least a little bit.
Dip your toe.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, right, is that, not to rub it in everyone's faces, but in Queensland, we've got the best of both worlds. We have Laser Force and 2 zone sites, so...
Well, technically, you've got another, at least one Force site in Brisbane, right?
Yeah, we've got Chermside, and then there's one down at Loganholme or something like that, so about half an hour south. But yeah, don't play competitive SM5.
They're like Zaptag, right? They're like
yeah,
FEC.
Yeah, they're your FEC. They all kind of had SM5 originally. I think that, I don't know, they slipped the system or something.
Yeah. Well, they a lot of the Zaptag sites, at least from my recent experience, like you turn up and their license doesn't include like a massive portion of the Force games or something like that. They have standard individual and teams, and that's and color conquest, and that's basically it. But yeah, you text me out of the blue.
Yeah, look,
hey, bro.
I was so busy with work, and like I've just come back and it's been a nightmare. Like Christmas season is just crazy in hospitality. Restaurant manager world is not fun. But yeah, I completely forgot to message anyone that I was like, hey, I'm coming to New Zealand. What's going on? So I literally arrived on like Saturday afternoon. We started playing basically immediately, and whilst we were like getting to the site, I just messaged Shiv. I was like, hey, what are you up to? What's going on?
I can't remember if we had done a show that day or what, but I was just like, I got no plans. Fuck it. Yeah, hell yeah. Let's come up and, enter the unfamiliar world of Zone.
Enter the Dragon's Den.
Yeah.
Also, quick shout out to Ben Wake in chat. I actually got to meet him in person as well because he came over.
Flew halfway around the world. He's from WA.
Yeah, I completely flaked on the fact that that Wake plays Zone. I don't know if I even put that together that he plays Zone, but really really cool to meet him. And also shout out to local legend Popeyes for all the work that he did putting together. I guess the comp. There's a management group, essentially their version of the committee. So I think he's on that shady organization. But
yeah, he also makes a mean chicken.
Oh, we have a Popeyes chicken now. We have one out south.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been there.
Bro, Australia is so behind on fast food. It's not even funny.
It's probably a good thing though, dude.
Have you seen the size of me? It's not a good thing, bro.
Oh, I'm right there with you. Yeah, we don't need no more fast food.
I need to lose about 25 kilos to play internet in Brisbane because ramps are not my friend.
Yeah, at a minimum, I'm at 30.
I
But
say
40,
ramps.
40 is my goal. Not before
Yeah.
Nats, because that's ridiculous. But yeah.
I'm considering
Sounds
just going in there
unsafe.
with a sledgehammer and just knocking down all of upstairs and being like, well, guess we got to play downstairs now.
Yes, it'll be a nice redux from Detroit 2009.
It's
Oof.
fine. The Great Wall of Taipan will come back. Your totem pole's got nothing.
Fucking hate Tokyo. We're gonna circle back to Force because of course, why wouldn't we? But so this was Zone Worlds, right?
Yes.
Which, from my understanding, is different than say, like Nationals or
Yeah, so in Zone, there's a couple of different formats. So where we predominantly play SM5, all the same format. Zone Worlds is 1 shot per second, so basically your heavy settings. There's no reset in Zone, so 1 shot a second, and then there's stuns. So if you get shot on the phaser or the shoulders, it stuns you. So you've got a little bit of an immortality time, and then basically you can get shot again. The stun doesn't deactivate you. So basically you're trying to dodge shots at that point to try and reactivate and then be able to win the standoff. So when I say standoff as well, just because I will probably say it continuously, it means dueling. So basically, compared to Laser Force, where you're not really that close where you're head-to-heading someone, in Zone, you get quite close and you're trying to dodge the shots. So, funnily enough, everyone at Zone makes fun of Laser Force for having a shell shoulder.
yeah.
And yet, in Zone, one of the biggest rules is you can't cover your chest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same thing.
Some players will be making fun of Force players. Meanwhile, they're like crawling all over each other trying to get a shot. It's like, I don't want to do something so stupid like that.
Well, so from a because I came up a couple times to check it out and hang out with you and sort of get out of my comfort zone and meet some people that love tag but in a different way. When kind of watching some of this happen, I found the whole thing fascinating. It was really, really cool, actually, cool experience to come up. But when people duel or, trying to avoid covering their chest, it's kind of counter because you see a lot of people kind of arms up or arms down and moving between the two, right?
Yeah.
How do you...
Motion of fire rules and leaving your chest blank, but you can bring stuff up, you can bring it down. You can't pause in front of your chest.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
How
How
you can go out and back in, but you can't stop out halfway.
can you? But you can stop at your extension.
Yeah, so full
Interesting.
extension's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Half extension, not.
So who makes that call?
Referee.
Right. And is it just what's the word I'm looking for? When somebody makes their own judgment, is it just a judgment call?
It is a judgment call. So in Worlds, they kind of changed the rules a little bit. I will say this is the part that I really disliked, because when it comes to like Zone Nationals, it's quite black and white. Like if you're going out and you stop, it's a term, right? It's a penalty.
Right.
In Zone Worlds, basically what they were saying was you can do this, but as soon as someone sees the laser on your arm, which isn't the IR, but as long as someone sees a laser on your arm, it's a term.
Wow.
So it's kind of counterintuitive because, especially with the packs we played on, which, for those who don't know, so PNC runs 2 systems at the moment. I think there's a third one, which is Nexus, but it's not really run anymore. That's the old system. So you've got Nexus, then you have the Pro system, which is Helios Pro, which is what we play in Queensland. And then you've got the system beyond Pro, which is more of an FEC system called H2, Helios 2. And the way that the barrel works, and I'm sure that I'll get castrated for this because I'll get it wrong. Basically, you've got 2 IR points, and then you've got the laser. So where the IR is over here and where the laser is over here are 2 very different spots.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like It's like Gen 4 Laser Force.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, pretty much.
But that just there as the laser is purely
The laser is
decoration, right?
decoration.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of counterintuitive because by saying, oh, well, where the laser goes is the shot, it's actually not the shot. So someone can be there blocking the shot and the laser's hitting them, but they're just not deactivating.
Right.
So I didn't like the way it was refereed. Again, if I want it changed, I should go be on the shadow council that is called the committee.
Valid.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't complain because I'm not running it, right? And so it was the one thing I didn't like, but I'm not going to let that ruin a very well run competition.
Yeah.
And yeah, shout out to Popeyes and Brad. Brad flew all the way from WA to New Zealand and
didn't play.
He literally was there to help run the competition.
Yeah. I think
Like,
That's
that-
dedication.
Yeah.
That is dedication and commitment.
Mhm.
And yeah, like
yeah.
people like that are the reason why we are blessed enough to be able to play these competitions
Yeah.
and do these kind of things. And I think Peter's going to be doing something similar for us
Awesome.
next year.
Yeah.
In terms of the running of things, I'm sure he'll play one game for us so that if we do win, he can say, I won another one.
He's just gonna be like a little brain instead of a mech, like Krang, just like walking around and shooting people.
What was funny is that when you said that those that don't start podcasts, I was like, why is Peter not on here?
He works on the Saturday like an idiot.
I thought he was retired. I thought he was like
Maybe he
84.
is.
Like,
No, just his
Agreed.
knees. One of them.
His knees are 84. The rest of him not quite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joys of having a failed Achilles, exactly right. Wait, poor bugger. But to your point, I think maybe that's sort of what Force is missing, or just like competitive scenes in general. You have to kind of have, from an organizational point of view, people who are dedicated to that and don't play.
yeah, definitely.
But everyone wants to play, right? Like,
Yeah.
for
It's
the
funny how that works.
yeah. Although I'm contemplating not playing in Brisbane next year and just doing commentary, but we'll get back to that. Yeah. Okay. So you were saying, I think about like the competition formats, like
Yeah. So
how many do you have? What's your kind of favorite?
so there's two competition formats. So you've got Australasian Championships and you've got World Settings. So World Settings is what the Europeans play. It's what the Americans generally play. Australasian Settings is basically your scout and your commander hit rates. So it's 2 shots a second, no stuns, 8-second DX.
Right.
So pretty much exactly the same as Laser Force, just no
No resets.
No
resets.
resets,
Yeah,
yeah.
God, that's the word.
Uh-oh.
I think
It was It was funny watching your brain spin like
What's
like
the word?
loading.
Yeah, yeah.
Stuff in the
Loading.
thing.
Ting, ting,
slow
ting,
down.
ting, 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 ting. It's like a crankshaft.
Yeah.
Get
Okay,
there
I can
eventually.
smell it from here.
Yeah, it smells like
Blimey.
bacon.
Bacon.
Yeah, so look, I prefer the Australasian format.
Yeah.
I think it speeds the game up. It makes it feel more like a sport. But in saying that, it's kind of funny because I prefer 1 shot a second.
Right.
In regards to how I play, in regards to how I structure how I play. But having played Worlds, there was something called a lockout. And what a lockout is a lockout is when you reactivate, you can't pull the trigger straight away because it'll lock the phaser out. It means you'll just no shot, right? You're shooting blanks. You're not even shooting. So yeah,
Standing
long
there
story.
frustrated.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very understandable problem as we all get older.
Great, yeah.
Bro, I've got a section just here called Brent.
Called
Yeah, so it's just one of those things that, like, I actually thought that was the part that deterred the game a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because it takes away from your timing and just gives the active player so much more advantage.
How long's the
and
lockout?
The lockout is
It's
4 of a
quick.
second.
Oh,
But-
it's 0.4. I thought it was less.
I think it was 0.4 or 0.3 of a second. But because it's that dramatic on one shot a second, you hear the up sounds, you see lights, you can pull the trigger, and the way that your brain works mechanically, you're going to be able to put that person down again.
Yeah.
60 milliseconds. Okay.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that I think, someone will be able to tell me. Brad, well done, Brad. So 60 ms. I know, I don't have the chat in front of me. I'm reading off my phone. I'm one of the viewers.
Aren't we all?
So it's one of those things that I think it just kept the player down to such a detriment when you're trying to attack that it leads to a lot more stagnant style of playing. And that is where it becomes an issue, because you've got teams that want to attack but can't attack because you basically, every time you get put down, that player is going to have the advantage on you.
Right.
So I prefer one shot a second, but I hate lockout.
Right. It's I guess
because
like lockout kind of from the sounds of it almost deters you from standing there and squaring up and trying to duel somebody, right?
correct.
Right.
Sounds like it, yeah.
So you basically got to be really good at dueling to be able to do it. But I think I saw the former shadow member. So the thing that, again, I like about H Pro, which is the pro system the PNC does, and other than the phaser being this big vacuum looking thing, if you haven't seen it, go look at it. Like, it is a handheld Dyson vacuum. The only thing is that, other than that slight issue with the design, and you get used to it, H2 I don't like, because the phaser IR sensor, like the retrieving one, so the one that you get shot off of, is so much more powerful than every other sensor that any pack has ever had that I've played on. So you'll just kind of pop your phaser out, and because it's pointing in that direction, you will get tagged.
Right.
It's so strong and so powerful on H2 that, like, some people love it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I don't. I think it takes away from that skill of having to find a sensor, going around and trying to have to shoot them. So to me, it's detrimental, especially in a Worlds format, because I have to technically start with my phaser pointed away so that I don't just get tagged on the phaser, dodge, and then pull the phaser up and shoot.
Right. It's a different kind of skill, right? Like,
yeah, different skill set.
Yeah.
And some people love it. It's not for me. I might just be getting old.
That is also a very, very distinct possibility. Just throwing that out there.
That's interesting. It doesn't strike me as necessarily dissimilar about some of Scythe's not distaste for Gen 8, but maybe some of the things that he didn't initially like playing on the new Gen of Laser Force.
Yeah, I will say that I think Gen 7 and H Pro sit very much side by side in terms of the best pack systems to ever be created.
Right.
I love H Pro because it's a clip up at the front. It's not a pop over clunky vest. So it's quite free moving. You can do what you need to do with it.
Well, that's important for zone, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. You need to be able to move.
Yeah.
Whereas
awful.
like the Gen 7 phaser is without a doubt the best phaser that anyone has ever created. And why we went away to that clunky looking thing.
I love the Gen 8 one. It's
Bro, that got printed out by like one of the first generation custom printers that just like
Yeah.
take 15 hours. Hey, here's our phaser.
sick.
I
Like,
don't think that's
don't
the
know.
word he was going to say.
It was not the word I was going to say. Started with C, ended in Ted. Yeah, just I absolutely despise the Gen 8 phaser. I like the Gen 8 packs better. I hate the phaser.
I love the girth of it. How weighty it is. It
Oh,
feels
blimey.
nice in the hand. I'll just put both hands on it and go to town. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the Gen 7 one always going back to Gen 7 from Gen 8.
Yeah.
Like, it always felt light and cheap. And because I'm very much a player who doesn't like to break that kind of triangle. Like, I don't need to be moving my shit around.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't have to. It doesn't have to be lightweight for me to play.
Yeah.
Plus, if I hit someone with it, they're going down. It's great.
Do you want to know the funny thing? Is
Yes.
that I have seen more Gen 8 phases break than Gen 7 phases.
Really?
Yeah.
I just seen
And-
the rubber grip deteriorate and fall off. Like, I've never seen one
Because
shatter.
people are handling it too much.
Yeah.
I've seen the phases break. Whereas Gen 7, I never saw a phase break. And I fell on those things. Like, I wasn't as heavy as I am now, but and Peter used to bash those things against walls. Like,
Well,
I mean, no, he didn't.
Peter's
No, he didn't.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Peter is what we call the durability tester for all Laser Force gear. If you can survive a few weeks with him, then you know that it's ready for the
Yeah.
market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, just to me, like, it's the same thing with PNC's H2. It's the in between their new pro system that will be coming up and their current pro system, which is Helios Pro.
Right.
And look, actually, you know what? Now that I'm just saying this, I'm actually going to take 2 seconds because Zone lost one of the original site operators that helped start the whole Zultak thing. And Benny J owned the Bendigo site. He actually owned the Hobart site as well. So just thought I'd throw his name out there because, yeah, in our hearts as always, because without people like that, and we were talking about it, he put so much time and effort and money and everything, and such a lovely guy that without him, Zultak wouldn't exist, which is the Australasian Championships, and who knows where Australia would be right now. So, yeah, just kind of sidetrack onto that. So thoughts are with Benny J and his family.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, people like that are super, super important to us. And I think we lost another one as well, but I'm not sure where his connection kind of came into it. I think he may have just been a site operator, which, again, without the sites, we don't play.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just super important to think that, like, this is more than just a game sometimes, and there's more important things.
Well, you see that, and that's one thing I noticed when I came up to site when you guys were here. Thank you, by the way, for shouting them out. One thing you notice as soon as you come up, the massive difference first off is the amount of people that attended Worlds, like the amount of people that were in that building that had traveled from overseas. You guys had. What was the kind of breakdown? Like, I can't remember. Like,
so we had one Finnish team, one French team. There was 5 New Zealand, and the rest were Australian. So it was predominantly Australian, New Zealand, but definitely had that Finnish influence and the French influence as well.
Yeah.
Get on your shit, America. Where are you?
Yeah. Lazy.
So,
There was an American player there, but it was just the one player.
Yeah.
He was playing on one of the NZ teams.
yeah, and I know that there were other American players that were supposed to go. Havoc specifically, who's a Geddon player who we've had on the show before, but I know that unfortunately life smacked him in the mouth, so he wasn't able to. So I know that there were plans for more American players to be there, and it's just sad that those weren't able to come to fruition, as it were.
That's a massive number of people turning up for a competition, and especially one that ran how many days? 5 or 6 days?
6 days, I think. So I think we started on the Sunday.
Yeah. One massive difference between obviously our internets and this competition was that you guys play a variety of different games, right? How many games how many different game types you guys playing?
So we play the team format, team elimination. So team elimination is a short and condensed format. Obviously exactly what it is. 4 teams in there, 5-man teams, trying to kill the other teams out. Then you have solos, so no bases. So in zone, something that I probably should mention as well for those who haven't played it. Rather than playing like team versus team, man versus man, impact of bases is much more important. So bases are worth 3,001 points, and you lose 500 points for every tag you put into the base. So,
Brutal.
yeah, so bases are super, super important. So you get denied 10 times, goodbye.
It's basically get fucked.
Yeah, well, it's funny, right? Because what I think we've worked out is that 5 shots, you can walk away and not get the base, and it's okay. Anything 6 shots or more, you need that base just to make the points back. So it's basically just a massive gamble at that point.
Yeah.
So you've got Team Elim, no bases, solos, no bases. So solos is an 8-minute game, 20 people in there, basically, whoever's the best jeweler. That was played at 1 shot per second. You've got Lord of the Rings, which is, if my knees actually held up a little bit more, would be my favorite format. I played 1 comp in Darwin. I played Lore once. I won. And I've never been able to play again.
Well,
the best
then
philosophy, just win once, go out on the top. Perfect.
Yeah,
No notes.
exactly. You did it once, you won. You're good. You don't need to do it again.
Well, it's so funny because with the way that the lockout was, one of the guys who we regard as one of the best lore players of all time, maybe in Australia, maybe in the world, his name is Ben Beefy Ferris, so Beefy. I know, it's a great name. I just like saying it all.
It's awesome.
Also, little inside joke. Jax. He drinks a lot of Jack Daniels, so you have to ask him Jax all the time.
Right on.
You can swear at him as a referee. You can say whatever you want to him, as long as you finish the question with Jax.
No, we don't have a drinking problem. What are you talking about?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jack Daniels, the official sponsor of Zone World Championships.
Not actually a sponsor.
Yeah,
Not actually a sponsor.
Yeah, it's okay. We have a mixed record of sponsors anyway.
Unofficial. So, yeah, he turned around to me and he said, "Why are you not playing lore?" And I said, "Man, my knees just no.
Yeah.
Like, it's a hard no." And he turned around and he said, "I genuinely think you would have won without dropping a game. Like, that would have just been your format and you would have just killed it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, that sucks, but yeah, I can't drop shot anymore." So the knees just...
So what is it that makes it so hard on the knees?
So in Zone, one of the things that you do to try and dodge is drop shot.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically just drop straight to the ground. You have to stay like vertical, but you drop straight to the ground.
Bring
And
your
it's
ass
something
up
that
first and then roll up.
yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of always do, right? Because I've just got that
That's why you
ghetto
win.
booty
People
in
are
me.
like, nah.
Yeah. People are staring at me, right? Good way or bad way. Yeah, I do the snap as well at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, the slut drop.
drop.
That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
It's a slut drop.
Perfect.
So you basically do it to dodge a shot.
Yeah.
And it was one of my like great moves in winning in 2020. And then no. Knees, I do it maybe once a game, and then it takes me about 15 seconds just to get up from there. I do it once to dodge a shot, and then get shot twice trying to get back up.
Tina just
Yeah.
sorry, two just said fuck. I dislocated something just listening to this conversation. Sorry, Tim.
That's why at Nats we're all going to have our life alert bracelets. So when we inevitably fall and can't get up, we just...
Oh, I've had a bit of a tumble.
Ting, 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 ting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any nurses on staff just for Brisbane? Just like
I
maybe
mean,
a doctor or two?
So like Noel will be there again. He works in
Okay,
physio at the
sorted.
hospital, so we'll be sweet.
I mean, Baden's had enough done to him, right? So like, surely he knows a thing or two at this point.
Yeah. He's like hung out with those ambulance crews. No
Yeah,
problem.
he should be fine.
Also, yeah.
So yeah, like I can't play lore anymore, but lore's a super cool one. So 5-minute games in a circle. Basically, you're trying to just play off against
So crazy.
2 other players, and keep them down. And just, it's the only game as well that the closest score to 0 wins. So you don't gain any points from tags.
Oh.
It's about getting tagged the least.
Oh, that makes sense. I was like, why
Yeah.
is everyone's scores
Negative.
negative?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not about getting tagged. It's about getting tagged the least.
Is that because you lose points for getting shot, you get points for getting a shot?
Yeah.
So if you're
Yep.
mutual...
So they take the points out of getting a shot. So there is 0 points from getting a shot off.
Oh, okay. So
But
you
if
just...
you shoot the 2 people,
Yeah.
then you don't lose any points.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's
it
just
kind
relative points, really.
I guess, like, because the way that it starts is just that whoever, like, obviously you don't talk about who's going to get shot at the start, but you're trying to do it so that there's like a staggered, like, up time for people. Right.
Yeah, so you want to do it so that you basically get a shot per second plus in between the shots, so that you can reset, just go bang, reset, bang. So again, super cool format and really great to kind of watch as well. Law's one of those super fun ones that, like, can be streamed relatively easily.
Yeah.
Like, all you need is 3 packs of camera and a circle.
Yeah.
Like, so super, super cool format. Then you had doubles, which was played on the Australasian settings. So 2 shots a second bases. Then there was no triples, but there was a new one that most people hadn't played that I forget what the New Zealanders called
Wingman?
it. Wingman? Yeah. Which I didn't play because me and my dearly beloved partner, his name is Orkerai, we have been on the same Nats team for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Long time together, right?
Yeah.
It's me and Andrew.
Yeah, right.
And it gets worse than me and Andrew.
Oh no.
So we turned around, we watched one of these games, we went, okay, there's a 10% chance that we actually just go win this because, like, this is the kind of format that we would be really good at. And there's a 90% chance that one of us does something really, really stupid. Would have been him, not me. Him. I would have done the stupid thing. I just would have blamed him for not reading the fact that I was going to do the stupid thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, which means it's his fault. Yeah, yeah.
And then we would have murdered each other.
Yeah.
That's why it's always Andrew's fault, is that he doesn't realize that, like, I'm going to do something stupid. You just need to cover the stupid.
Why didn't you anticipate my stupidity?
That'd be the title of your autobiography.
It would. Why didn't you
Why
cover
do you
the
cover the
stupid?
That's so good.
The second one would be C. Couple of letters. Ted at the end.
Yeah.
So Wingman was like a super cool format, but I think it was done slightly wrong settings wise.
Right.
Because you could kind of start right next to each other. If your pack started late, you were going to lose.
What do you mean started late?
So the way that the packs work is they have startup time. So it's not run kind of like a program. Each pack's run individually. So when you press start, each pack starts up. And there is times where your pack may not have connected to the Wi-Fi as well as the other packs. Yeah. So it may not start on time. And if
People
it
were
doesn't
telling me
start on time,
that the Force equipment was the less superior site. Okay.
I think that they've both got pros and cons, but like one of the biggest cons is the fact that you're
maybe you don't get to play at the same time as everyone else.
Yeah, there is a possibility that you start late because there's been a Wi-Fi issue or a server issue, and
Was this Wellington in the 90s?
I was gonna say it's not like Laser Force radios have never done something like that.
Yeah, I
Much
definitely.
less common now.
Yeah,
30
definitely
years
thinking
later.
back to times in Sacramento, especially when one of our antennas wasn't working and we didn't know.
Yeah. But it's because something wasn't working. It's not because it's just like Wi-Fi fuckery.
It's just a kook with the system.
Yeah.
But with Wingman, you're playing around in X, right? You got like
you're playing around in X, which
Yeah.
is super cool, right? So it's
rad.
lore, it's Lord of the Rings, but it's elim. So everyone gets 20 lives, and you're basically trying to elim the other pair. So 2 pairs just playing off against each other. And yeah, in the X, 5-minute games. And another cool thing about it is that if you don't eliminate each other, you both lose. There's no winner, right? You actually have to win the game, which is
So there's
super, super cool.
So there's no playing just to minimize your losses. There is an actual incentive to
you actually have to win.
You have to stay involved with the game
Yeah.
because if you don't, you're gonna there's no way to move on anyway. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and great idea, great logic behind it. But the thing that we looked at and we didn't like was one that there was lockout. So lockout meant that if your pack started up 0.2 of a second late, 0.1 of a second late,
You're kind of fucked.
you were in the shit.
Yeah.
Like, you were so far fucking cunted that it wasn't even funny. I'm going to drop it here. Like, like, this was one of those formats that, like... Yeah.
Why wasn't that the title of the episode?
It should have been. That should have been the title of the episode. So it's one of those things that, like, there's the odd chance that you've got me and Rusty and Peter and Caleb in your resupply just ruining your lives.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
it's just
so just because I thought about this afterwards because I didn't quite understand at the start until I saw the GPS tracking. Yeah, which by the way,
super cool,
game changing from a spectator's point of view. It's so awesome. They had it implemented up there. Obviously, for anyone that watched the stream, you could have seen how it kind of looked. But in the overhead awesome. Of the maze, and when we say the X's, now the X's are two, like, basically walls, right? Like, so you've got four walls in the shape of an X. And each person starts in one of the corners. Is that right?
No. So that was one of my proposals, was to do it that way.
Yeah.
Or to start in polar opposite corners.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it was played. And that was one of the other things, is that I think that whilst it's a great idea, it just needed fleshing out a little bit.
That'd be cool though. And like, there was 3 X's in the maze, 2 or 3?
3 X's, yeah.
So, just out of curiosity, like, if a team killed out, so you're playing with what, like 8 teams, so 4 teams, 14, 8 teams. What's the math?
6.
Here? 6
teams. So 2 teams, 2 teams, 2 teams.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
3 X's.
Yep.
2 teams per X. 2 people per team.
I'm thinking of people. I'm getting my math confused.
If there's 3 of us
right?
and we have 2 beers each, it's a 6-pack.
Stupid creatives.
New Zealand is a great New Zealand education system at its finest, right here.
Hey, that's offensive.
But it's just that the hair goes out and in.
Yeah. But if one of the teams eliminates the other one, it's not like they can wander down and start in on one of the other games, right? It's like running 3 and like Lord of the Rings, where you run individual.
Yeah.
Okay.
You run the individual games.
Yeah.
If the game is over, they can take their packs off.
Yeah.
And then go watch another game.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and like, again, super spectator sport.
Yeah.
But the way that it was kind of worked on the outside is that because you've got walls that block the lines, you've only got a certain amount that can watch.
What would be really cool to like implement in that particular format is having a 360 cam at the point of the X, and having a top-down 360 view of all the action, because you could watch all the players in that format in that kind of view. That'd be really cool.
Look, I actually think that it is the future of like zone streaming. Like, I think it's a great format. I just think it needs fleshing.
Sure.
And obviously you need the X's.
Yeah.
And it's such a great format and actually a lot of the zone formats are great. It's such a great format for game throughput. Like, one of the biggest problems with Force at a tournament level really is you're very time constrained around the amount of teams you can have and the amount of games that you can get through. You've got 2
schedule friendly. It is
teams
not. Yeah.
that are playing essentially a 30-minute match if the game goes to time. Whereas definitely one of the advantages that Zone and Quest had as well before they went out of business. It's like, you've got 3 or 4 teams inside the maze. You're playing shorter games, and you've got 4 or 5 person teams. You've got all these things that contribute to making it easier to get teams, making it easier to get more teams involved. It's.
I mean, it's not like we couldn't play 7-minute Space Marines 4x4. It's just that's not as fun of a game.
That's right.
I'm just going to say that I threw the idea out there years ago that you could actually shorten the game to 12 minutes.
Well,
and you just decrease everything by that integer. So you decrease everything by a fifth.
Interesting. Well, so Loveland, have been like, I'd use the term hamstrung for a while now, where they play.
That is correct. That is the correct term.
They play 10-minute Space Marines, but the difference is that they don't have all of the lives and the damage and all that sort of stuff shrunk down.
Yeah.
I think
I'm
just
not
watched
saying you
Loveland.
couldn't. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think having just watched Loveland, with the amount of elims that were had, and I don't think I remember a game or watching a game that there wasn't an elim.
There were a
so
handful,
many,
but it was rare.
Yeah, there was so many elims that I actually understand the concept of them going to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, it has nothing to do with that.
No, that's a management decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, regardless of the management decision, I actually do think that it does make sense for the way that their arena plays and the way that everything plays there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing that we used to do at Brisbane regularly when we had a heap of numbers was 3-team.
Interesting.
And that's the biggest thing that Zone does, is that Zone is 3 teams.
I'm not a big fan. Just on my very limited experience. So okay, just for some context, I went up. I came up and I watched. I can't remember what format it was. I came up on a couple of days, saw a couple of different formats, and then managed to hustle my way onto a microphone because why not?
It's what you do.
And so I got to kind of be the voice of people who don't know what the fuck is going on at a tournament, which is not always
as per normal. Yeah.
It's not always appreciated, but whatever. But I found, and I asked a bunch of questions around it. It seemed like the case where in a 3-team format, one team is going to get shit on. Now you guys have rules around you're not actually allowed to, purposefully do that, right? You're not 2 teams can't be let's go fuck up the blue team because they're ahead on the standings or whatever. But that seems like in a 3-team format, it's kind of going to happen by default, no?
So it does, but it doesn't. And the thing is that when you get to when you get to the top end, it's no one wants to lose, right?
Right.
And so by playing 2 teams against one of those 2 teams is going to lose.
Yeah.
So, there is rules around what they call collusion. So you can't go in there and be like, hey, so we're going to do this, you're going to do that, and then we're both going to kind of base swap, and then that third team's just going to get ruined, right? Yeah. It does happen, right? Things happen where someone dumps, they pick up their base, they don't want the base anymore, they can have freebies, we're going to go attack, we're going to go try and get 10. And then it's up to the other 2 teams as to what they want to do, whether they defend, whether they go to that base and just defend that base. That's now their base. They get 5 freebies. And then you've got that third team that's now sitting there going, hey, what's going on? It just adds a different strategic element.
Well, how do you combat that, though? Doesn't it seems like if that's the way a game goes, there's no way to overcome that. Is that accurate?
Well, most of the time people get impatient and people get sloppy.
Right.
And so if you're that team that's kind of sat there a little bit patient, just scoring pack points, doing that kind of thing, generally what will happen is one of those 2 teams will go, hey, now's our chance to win. Let's pick up 6 and go to them. And so because they've done that, the other team now goes, oh shit, well they're there. They're going to try and win the game. They're going to get 5 free bases. Now we're in the shit. We're going to go to them as well.
Right.
So sometimes that third team ends up winning because they've just been patient.
Right.
And they've just waited for someone to go and get greedy and go, all right, now's the time. We're going to go try and win. And then the
Well,
other team sits there and goes, "Oh shit! Well, no, we want to try and win, so we're going to go as well."
It's like kind of a prisoner's dilemma situation, right? Because it's like, even though it might be to your advantage to have the two teams kind of, collude against the third, it's always going to be optimal to try to take advantage of whatever your opponent does. So it's like, well, yeah, if we cooperated with them, we could do that, or we could just go grab their base for free. And it's like
Yeah.
I guess the incentive to backstab your alleged ally is just would be like too high in that
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah, and it happens all the time. It happens all the time.
So you're kind of at least from what I saw, kind of the captain of your team, kind of rah-rah guy, right? So I assume that you kind of take that role in the maze. Like, how do you communicate that kind of stuff to your team?
Yeah, so I generally play what we call in Queensland, what we call in Australia, a GC, so game control. So I am definitely not one of them.
Where's that button?
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, you've got 5 kind of positions. At least that's how we've structured it in Queensland. So you've got GC, game control, lead attack. You've got your second attack, first out. You've got your float role, who kind of is in between your attack and defense. So that's probably maybe not the most crucial role, but definitely the most difficult role to get right.
Right. So like a center and netball?
Yeah,
That's
pretty
your
much.
Scout. That's your scout right there.
Yeah.
Not sure why I went to netball.
It's it's kind of
Talk about Space Marines every week. You got a fucking netball.
Oh, it's like netball.
Oh, it's the person who's on attack and defense. Not a scout, not a heavy. It's fucking netball.
In America's like, what's a netballs?
It's actually ammo.
Or that. Anything that's
like
a Space Marines analogy.
Yeah. So it's kind of a weird one, because you've got this translation that doesn't really translate. So yeah, your float is kind of like, should be at home defending the base, but when there's no one there, they should be out helping your attack. And so it's about reading those situations, going, okay, now's my time to go, now's my time to stay.
Right.
So for us, that was Method. So Method was playing our float. Oh, the cat's there.
Oh yeah, no, he's
pulling all the pussy.
Where's that button?
I didn't swear. I didn't say.
You gotta have your finger at the ready to hit that button.
Yeah, so then you have your second defense, who is more like your door defender, who's your outside, probably your brawler. So for us, that was Orcray. Orcray's a bigger guy. He brawls probably the best. And then you have our last line, so last line of defense. So he's basically the one that if you play someone inside, he plays inside the base. If you don't play anyone inside, he is in the position where he should be able to stop most attacks with good communication.
So he's looking to kind of deny bases, right? Like get denials on people.
Yeah, he's looking. Well, actually, he's probably the one that doesn't get the denials, because he's the one that is either inside, or he's the one that gets shot last for them to get in the base.
Right.
So yeah, your second D and your float are usually the ones that get the most denials.
Yeah. So how do you communicate, like,
very well.
in that kind of situation, where like a team is like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna go get the other base because it's open. What's the kind of role that you would take in that kind of situation? Like, are you communicating to your team, hey, green's gone to red, we need to go try and deny them? Or
So usually it depends how smart the other teams are, and it depends the level the other teams are at. So certain teams, so I'll look at the team that won, Vantage, right? So originally they were called Wolfpack. So they won 3 Australasian championships as Wolfpack.
Wow.
Then they
impressive.
Formed another team called Catalyst, which ended up becoming Catalyst became one-time nationals winner, and then has got second in the last 2.
Right.
On a change of system. So yeah, on this system, they've won multiple Australasian championships. And so with that, they've won Worlds this time around. And the way that they would play is that a lot of the time they won't scream out, "Hey, this team's dumped." They will just hold their defense, restructure themselves, and do it in a way that they can optimize the amount of points that they're getting.
Right.
So they'll do it in a way that's smart. Now, this time round, the guy that was running it is usually the guy that plays their float. So he made some questionable decisions during the competition in terms of like dumping or doing this or doing that. And you could see his inexperience with that leadership role.
Right.
In terms of like the decisions he made in finals, there were decisions that were made for him. So he got very lucky, right? If he actually had to make the decisions, I don't think they would have won.
Right.
And this is not having a go at him, right? Pack for pack, he's probably one of the best players of all time.
It's
but
different though. It's different skill set,
yeah,
right?
decision making has never been his strongest.
Right.
So getting into that situation where he's got to make those decisions, he wouldn't have had to have made those decisions. He would have just been able to
focus on playing instead of having
exactly.
Basically, instead of having to try to think for everybody else, he just got to basically zone in on
he got to zone in on
what he was doing.
What did we just say?
Yeah,
You
so
have to be
basically
Yeah.
what happened in the 3 games of finals was at about the 7-minute mark, one of the teams dumped, which was, I think the first 2 games was Cobras, the New Zealand A team. And then the last game was the Vikings, Hobart. So the team that has won the last 2 Australasian championships. And so with this all being easy for them, right? They were able to basically just get 10 bases or 8 bases every single game because they just got freebies.
Right.
So yeah, it was kind of a weird finals to watch because I was watching it and it was close, but at the same time, the team that probably should have come third won because the other 2 teams either panicked or just weren't getting anywhere, felt they weren't doing well enough, and made the judgment decision to pick up sticks.
Yeah.
And yeah, if anyone wants to go back and watch the finals, it's a really weird finals because they didn't have to do anything other than shoot people. They didn't have to think. They didn't have to do anything under pressure. They just had to shoot people.
And so, from my understanding, like, not having to worry about the bases is a massive advantage, right? Like,
massive.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
If anyone does want to go back and watch, the link is that one there. I highly recommend it. Go back and watch the comp because it's super interesting.
And despite talking for over an hour, we've kind of buried the lead. So, who won, and how did your team do? / how did you do in the individual events, Taipan?
So doubles, I was playing with one of the Canberra boys. So we got 10th or 12th, which was a little bit lower than. Oh God, I wouldn't be able to tell you 50.
Okay.
Respectable.
Yeah. So we played kind of as good as we should have, because we've never played together, and I love this man. Nufa is very close to my heart, but Nufa is a Gumby.
That's what I always say.
He is the epitome of your medic running off when you're not under pressure. I need resupply.
Maybe he just wanted to go attack.
Yeah, like your heavy's got 4, and your medic's like, I need bases. Off I go.
Let him out.
Like, we had freebies in so many games, and he just disappeared. He just went, I'm going to go get pack points. But he didn't go get pack points. He went and got shot. So I was like, what are you doing, man? Like, so we did okay, but didn't do as well as we kind of would have wanted to.
Yeah.
We didn't play Wingman, which was the best decision for my team sanity. Because me and Orkra would have killed each other. And then I don't play solos because I just don't like the format. It's not my kind of format. I think that if you're going to be in there and you're going to have bases and you're going to make it about bases, there should be bases.
Right. Otherwise, what are you doing?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just running around shooting
Well,
people.
I mean,
I can do that at a kid's day.
Yeah, it's kind of. I was gonna say it's laser tag in its purest form, right? You're just
Yeah.
in there to shoot
To shoot
competitors,
people.
which is fun.
Yeah.
really fun and like has its place in a competitive environment. But if that's not your jam, then
Yeah, absolutely. And then didn't play Law. Probably should have. But here we are.
retire as champ, dude.
Yeah. And then we got 5th in Elim, so we just missed out on finals. Because there's 4 teams in finals, which was unfortunate, but we played well. I think we finished 3rd after round robin or something like that. So we were playing pretty good, but just not good enough to get through to finals.
I caught the
That
end of
happens.
that, right?
Been
I
there,
was up
it happens.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
day.
And look, we were a throw together team, right? We had 4 Queenslanders and 2 WA boys. So like we hadn't played together that much. We hadn't really meshed. So yeah, just kind of one of those things that shit happens, and we got 5th, happy with 5th. And then we got 7th in teams, which I don't know how we could kind of regard ourselves in teams, because after round robin, we were in 11th.
Wow.
Yeah,
So improvement. Improvement is good.
we were not playing well at all. Now, rather than like just play round robin and then straight into like where you are, you play cascades. So you get grouped around players. So you get basically 2 games you should win, 2 games you should get second, 2 games you should get third for probably the middle 80%. And then the top end should kind of win all their games and get for second. They should get 3 firsts, 3 seconds. First you get all firsts. Third you get 2 firsts, 3 seconds, and a third, something like that. And same at the bottom. You should get all thirds. You should get 4 thirds and 2 seconds, and kind of works up, right? So it becomes a seeded play, which is super cool. So you get sorted in teams that are around your level. Obviously, they weren't teams around our level because we did really well. We just needed some easy games, apparently, because we sucked in the hard ones.
I'll take him.
Yeah, but just the way that it all played, I think 7th was probably about right for us, maybe even a little bit lower. I think individually, like, I think that was the issue with the team. There was a lot of people wanting to play individually and not kind of trying to stick to our structure.
Right.
And on the first day, I kind of cracked it a little bit because
Really?
I know.
Shocking.
What was bugging me was it's one of those games where if you're commander, you're out in attack, and then you go, oh, your medic got hit. 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 And you come back and you're like, how many lives do you have? And they're like, oh, I'm on 8. And you're like, how did you get that screwed? And it was basically the same thing, is that like you're out on attack and you're like, blue base hit, blue base hit, blue base destroyed. And you're like, how are we dropping bases? I'm the only one here. They're attacking with 2. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And like no one could genuinely give me an answer. No one could turn around and be like, oh, we're dropping bases because this is happening, or no, we're dropping bases because this is happening. Everyone's like, no, we're defending well. And I'm like, we dropped 9 fucking bases. What the fuck do you mean we're defending well? This is not well. This is bad. This is why we lost.
Well is such a relative term in that moment. I mean, you could have dropped more, I guess.
Would you guys have
one?
like
what? Yeah. I mean, see, it could have been worse. It could have been worse.
with the replay, like the stream, and obviously you've got the GPS tracking on there. Is there a way, I don't know necessarily at a tournament, but can you go back later and kind of use the information, like actually see where people are positioned themselves and use that data?
You definitely can. It's something we probably didn't take enough of an advantage of. And the other thing was that the way that it was that like it could say that you're on one side of the wall, but you're actually on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
So it's within relative space.
Right.
And so I could be standing there going, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And then someone turns around and they go, that's not where I was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's one of those tricky situations. Again, like, do I believe the map? Do I believe the person? But yeah,
You have
just,
chosen gaslighting.
we ended up playing a game against Canberra and Vikings, and we knew there was going to Canberra and Hobart, and we knew it was going to be a tough game. And I'd walked out and I basically had enough. I was like, what is going on with our defense? And the team turned around and said, right, go on defense. Go work out our holes. Go work out our issues. I went straight into our defense and we dropped one base. And I was like, what is going on? And the base was my fault. I just went to try and solo another base because I was like, cowboy, let's go. I'm going to have a good time.
You cowboying it up? No.
Yeah, it was like, oh, there's tequila over there. Da, 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 da. Like, I'm going for a party.
Oh, that sounds rad.
Yeah,
Jack?
legit.
Jack?
Yeah.
Fireball?
Fireball. Like, I just went, you know what, I'm going to have a go. I followed Runt, who was probably the best player in the world on H2. He was like, I'm going this way. So I went, I'm going to follow that guy. Cleared the base. I got 2 shots in. I got stunned, and then I got denied. And I was like, it's worth a shot.
Cool.
And at that time, we dropped a base because I was just
Fucking
doing
off.
my
Yeah.
thing. I came home. I was like, look, my bad. But we dropped one base, and I was like, so what's going on with our defense? How no one is explaining to me how we're dropping bases here. I'm confused.
I had a question, like, because when I was up there, I was going to leave, and as I was on my way out, everyone had been put into lockdown.
Yep.
And I was like, oh shit, like, and I went to go and I can't remember what I was doing. I went to go somewhere. I think I was going to say bye to Wake, actually, and Wake was standing kind of near the armory. And I walked around there, and there was a chick there. I can't remember who it was, but she basically, arms crossed, stood in my way and blocked me. And was like, no. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm in trouble. But part of that was because of people not being allowed to be aware of, like, scores and shit. What I was going to ask was, in a final series, how many games do you play, like, in the finals? And do they have any idea of what their scores are during that kind of time?
Yeah, so you play 3 games and no one has any idea. It's all based off of gut feel.
Wow. And it's, like, obviously with Force, like, it's, you know, red team is really hit by 9,000. You get an idea of where you're at.
It says everything.
Do you get any of that in Zone? Wow. So
No.
they are in the dark.
Yeah, so something that
That's
got
really cool,
introduced
actually.
at Pre-Nuts 1 at Sunny Coast is what's called DMX lights. So DMX lights are in everything, but
Yep.
the DMX
they're
lights
gonna
are
give it to you.
coded. Are coded to show you who's winning. So it showed you who was winning, and yeah. So by showing you who was winning, what it did was it allowed teams 2 and 3 to actually make a decision. It didn't show you how much; it just showed you that you were winning. And so if you thought you were close, then you would make a decision to try and win the game.
Right.
I actually really like that. To
Right.
me, that is like more information is good information.
Yeah.
Well, you're also coming from Laser Force, where you're
You've
used
got
to
all of the
getting a full
information.
audio cue,
Yeah.
and
Which can-
repeatedly throughout the game, saying, you know, giving you a relative, you know, idea of, oh, you know, red team is up by 10,000 points. Oh, green team is trailing by 3,000. Like you're biased to that because that's what you're used to.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm biased to it. Like, and I've played a lot more Zone in the last 8 years than I have done Force.
Also true.
So
That's terrible.
I think it's one of those things that yes, I may have reverted back to like, oh, I'm playing Laser Force and I'm used to getting these cues and things, but my decision making was also pretty on point. And the guy that I was talking about earlier, Wax, he was the GC for Vantage at Worlds. In one of their podcasts, in one of their prediction streams, and they were doing a post-mortem of Pre-Nuts. They asked him how they thought we played with the lights. And he turned around and he said, Taipan doesn't need them. Taipan knows what's going on.
Right.
So he's correct. In most of the games, I have a good feel of the situation as to where we are.
Right.
Right?
Fair.
Having apparently played the second most amount of zone games ever, which I don't know how.
Wait, what?
Yeah, apparently I've played the second most amount of zone games ever, and I don't log in on anything ever. So someone's got my card in Europe somewhere playing every single
I
day.
see.
Dude, we've got one in
Yeah.
Auckland. We've got one of your cards here. Some of the guys were like, "Oh, should we play this Taipan?" And I was like, "No, membership is sacred.
Don't give him
Yeah.
more games. Don't
Yeah,
give him more
Fuck
games.
that guy."
It's a real bugaboo for Steve.
Oh yeah, it drives me crazy. Anyway,
That's fair.
Yes.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That's cool that they're like you got this many games, but
I don't have that many games.
Yeah, but it's like that makes no sense based on like some of the U.S. players that I know, you know, have games and this that, and it was like, okay,
Yep. Second most. I think what has happened is Launton and Ben Baker and Callum, who own Launton, I looked after their leagues. I ran their leagues for probably the best part of 5 years. I ran all of their trainings. I looked after them. They looked after me. They sponsored me as a player to be able to do that. Yeah, so I love Launton. I think Launton is fantastic. And like those two boys are just awesome people.
we're a very
and-
pro-Lawton show around here. Probably.
Yeah. Sunshine Coast is fantastic as well. Don't get me wrong. Like we're very blessed in Queensland to have what we have.
Yeah.
Katie at Sunny Coast is fucking sensational. She's a great site operator. And she plays still. So that's the other cool thing,
Yeah.
right? The other two boys have kind of given it away. They were both on probably one of the best teams of all time, the Maroons, who won 3 back-to-back championships. So
Impressive.
State of
yeah.
Hope.
Yeah, they basically were the real dynasty. They
Yeah, that's
kickstarted
awesome.
everything for Queensland.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just super blessed here. But what Ben and Callum did was they went, I needed to step back for my own personal well-being. I needed to step back for my own personal performances at work and everything like that. So we had quite an open, honest conversation with that. And as like a thank you, they actually named one of their packs after me,
Cool.
which is super cool.
Yeah.
Right?
that is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that pack is actually linked to my name.
Yeah, so every single player.
Every kid that ever plays is playing on my card.
It might have actually done that and fractured reality so much that it echoed back in time because one of our original Gen 4 vests was also named Taipan, and that was back in 1997.
maybe.
prior to your birth. No,
Yeah. No, not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Prior to me picking up a laser tag pack, that's
Yeah.
for sure. So yeah, like just super cool in this scene. And yeah, apparently I played the second most amount of games. But yeah, he turned around and he'd said, yeah, he doesn't need the lights. He doesn't need the lights to read a game.
Yeah.
He made finals in Bendigo with a team that shouldn't have made finals in Bendigo, because he
Game
knows how to
sense.
read a situation.
Yeah. And I mean, I would describe that as one of your strengths in Laser Force as well.
Yeah.
Is just
Yeah.
being a
it-
very good game state reader.
I
Yeah,
think
what's
it's-
going on between my ears is probably the best part of me right now
Well,
because
so-
nothing else works.
Yeah, I mean, dude, like honestly, I think that's what separates great players is their ability to, like, think in a good way. Like me talking about the point that I'm trying to. No, but like kind of that chess thought process, right? Is like moves and counter moves. Like if you can actually
Yeah.
understand that side of the game, then you transcend being able to just have good reaction, good physical attributes. If you can engage your thought process in a game and use that to your advantage, you can actually outplay people that way rather than just being faster or all your bones work properly or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, because shockingly enough, physical attributes fade over time. It's weird. This whole
Mine have
getting
grown.
older. Well, okay, that's fair, and they're quite lovely, even with that bullshit jersey that you're wearing.
I know.
But
Let's just say they're reapportioned. We're not going to say degraded, better, or worse. It's recomposition.
Did we so competitive Space Marine scene, I vaguely remember we were in a situation where we never used to we were never allowed to see what the scores were. Is
That's
that
correct.
it's no longer the case, right? Like I can't remember when that changed, but
I feel like this is actually one of those things that's my fault. As
perfect.
One
As
of
with-
those
Fans'
things.
fault.
One
Fans'
of
fault.
them.
well, there are a multitude of things within the Laser Force tournament scene that are my fault.
Yeah.
That is an accurate statement. But no, I think it actually was one of those things that started basically in Ballarat
Right.
because of the screen capping that we were doing.
Mm.
And basically was managing to check scores on the finals games.
Oh.
And yeah. And so because I was checking them, I was telling Al as well.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like kind of from that point forward, it's just kind of become a thing that
No, that's not why. The difference is when referees started calling their own penalties versus when players were having to petition refs for penalties. That was
Right.
when that shifted, because it used to be
okay.
that you'd go into the room. If you had a penalty to call, you had
You
to stay
couldn't
in the
leave.
vest room. You could
Yeah.
not go look at the screen, because otherwise teams could go out and say, well, we're down by 4K. So let's see if we can get like 7 penalties. That way, even if the refs only confirm a couple,
Yeah.
that should get us over the margin.
Well,
And
I
that
remember,
is not kind of what we want to deal with. But if the refs are calling everything,
then
it doesn't matter. You can look at it all you want. You can tell them, to try to find you 300 votes in Georgia, but if they're not there, they're not there.
Okay, well,
it's like a netball. No, I think.
Okay,
God
and-
save our
and-
gracious Trump. Long live our
Where's the
noble
button?
Trump.
yeah, and so
Hey, you
DK,
need to
yeah,
bleep that
DK,
shit.
that does make more sense. I just remember
Mhm.
in 08, like doing that and basically, and then being like, oh, well, yeah, it wasn't really supposed to do that. So, yeah,
Well, I remember
going from there.
like in Oakley in 03, my first Nats, part of the massive contention in finals was, firstly, Brisbane vetoed all the referees, so we had 3 referees refereeing the final.
These refs are fucking blind. They can't do anything.
That's why you both have glasses now.
I wasn't a ref. I got vetoed.
Go to Specsavers.
But the second thing was, we were supposed to lock down the referees as well. Like nobody was supposed to leave the armory or kind of go out into the public area where the scoreboards were. And I vaguely remember, I think what happened was referees left the armory, and when they went back in, there was some shenanigans that happened. One of the referees got very upset, and then they ended up applying a conduct penalty for the exact amount that was needed for Brisbane to lose,
Yeah.
allegedly. So I don't know. I mean, I remember that being a thing, and then I couldn't quite recall why it changed, but it makes a lot of sense. Like,
Yep, nothing says fun like locking people in a room during competition. We really know how to have great fun. at
I mean,
Laserforce.
I thought I was getting in trouble by like the zone community. They were like,
I,
"Fuck this horse, dude."
I would have been in there with refreshments.
Yeah. So I guess overall, like, how was the week? Like, how did you felt you did, and like,
Yeah,
how was
look,
overall?
I think I played really well. I think when we look at Worlds, and since coming back, we've kind of got more of a judgment call from other Queenslanders. And look, I will say that Queensland in zone has never showered itself in a heap of glory because we are very opinionated.
No.
And
You?
this is not me. This is everyone else. And-
Sure. It's everybody else. It's not
it's
you.
not just everyone else. It's definitely me as well.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
having come back, it's an interesting thing because to me it didn't feel like a Worlds.
Right.
It didn't feel like a World
Why?
Championships was on the. I have a big bone to pick about refereeing. I think because that was so laxed that I don't think you actually got the correct results.
Mm.
And I think that's something that, to me, would need to be looked at.
Classic
If
5th place.
well, no, and I'm not saying this to do with me,
Right.
but I'll use an example. So Runt, again, best player on this pack system, right? Got to Law finals against VDark, Cobra, and Guinea, who probably, alongside Beefy, best Law player of all time.
Right.
Right? Made finals. Beefy was refereeing. Beefy refereed our Zultag finals as well. I was asked not to referee.
Vetoed.
Pretty much, right? But I was not vetoed by the players. I was vetoed by the committee. And the reason was because I actually called penalties.
Right.
At least that was my understanding, right? They didn't want terms to affect the outcome. Beefy ticked Runt, the guy who won Law, 8 times. None stood. Because
when
you
say
need...
tick, they gave
So
him a penalty?
ticked is a penalty,
Right.
and you need the median penalty. So if someone ticked you 3 times and someone ticked you 1, you get 1.
Right. But nobody else is calling infringements.
No one else called it.
Right.
Okay.
So Beefy came up to me afterwards and he said, "How many ticks did you have?" I said 8.
Right.
He said, "I had 9. Brunt shouldn't have won Law."
Right.
Now, I'm not going to take that away from the player at all. He played the games. He won the games. That was just from what I saw, from the angle that I was at as well. And from the angle I was at, I was in pretty much the same line as Beefy, which is in Law. You're not going to get that from your referees. They're around a circle. So you got one here, and one here, all looking at different things. So I very well may have called something different. I may have not called a penalty. I'm not saying that I would have. But the fact that, the referees that were in there didn't call penalties were a little bit of an issue.
Yeah.
And that was something that bugged me throughout the week, is that if you're not having referees in there actually doing their job, they're not going to focus on the specifics that you're trying to get them to referee.
Right.
And I think there was about 6 penalties called over the competition in regards to team games.
Goodness.
At Zultak, that's massively higher.
Yeah.
Even in the Laser Force Internationals, it's
Yeah,
massively
yeah.
higher.
Huge, yeah.
So
yeah, like that's I mean, it's not normally
Yeah.
like 6 in a game or anything like that, but you're usually good for 1 to 2 a game.
Yeah.
In
I'd say the median is like 1.5 penalties a game in like a Laser Force tournament game.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, and I'm not blaming Worlds for this. I actually think it is the refereeing system. To me, what I would do is I would make the refereeing system harsher, but I would introduce, so they've got God boxes. So rather than a pack, you have a box. So number 4 is your yellow button, which is 1,000 points and 15 seconds out of the game. Number 5 is a red button, and it's 2,000 points and 30 seconds out of the game.
Goodness.
So
what's in the
significantly
box?
different. So significantly different. But
Mhm.
I have actually suggested that we go to another button and an earlier button. So you have a white button that is 15 seconds out of the game, 0-point penalty. So if someone's just being lazy, someone got lazy,
Foul.
come here. Yeah, here's a white button for you.
Yeah.
Right? Something got a little bit more significant that actually affects the game. Here's a yellow. There's 1,000 points and 30 seconds out of game, because the 30 seconds is more valuable at this point, right?
Yeah.
And if you do something
Real
shit, that affects base play, like someone taking a base, you deny them after baseline jumping or covering or whatever, cheating to affect the play, 2,000 points a minute out of the game.
Right.
And if you did that, I think what you would do is you'd be able to open worlds up to more white buttons, right? Because you'd be able to go, okay, fantastic. Look, you've done this, but it hasn't affected anything. Here's a white button. Here's your 15 seconds out. It just changes the perception. Because the other thing is that what we're starting to find at the Australasian Championships level, people are scared of giving yellows because they affect games. 1,000 points and 15 seconds affects a game. Almost like we did this a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Making those comparisons between the way the Force referees our competitive scene and the way, you're describing.
Yeah.
It's changed the viewpoint of refereeing for the better, But I think
Yes.
I mean, how long ago did we make the change? Like 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And I
was
think
just before. No,
Just
just
before the-
after 2018.
2018.
It was after
And-
that, Matt.
Yeah.
It was after 2018.
Yeah.
And was it after? I thought it was before.
Yeah.
Like for
No,
that.
it
man.
was
Yeah, because
just
I
after.
remember, I think that's when it got floated. It was like immediately after you guys said,
Right.
well, we tried
Yeah.
doing this other thing. And
Yeah.
everybody outside of Brisbane at first was just like, are you crazy? That sounds done. And it was
great.
easy.
Yeah.
It was an easy fix.
Yeah, it was a Peter idea because the thing that we were finding was that someone would call a penalty
Mm-hmm.
because it was their belief that it happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it may not have actually happened. And after consulting with another referee, hey, fan, I'm looking at you costing me a fucking game against fucking Brisbane A in fucking Brisbane.
I don't know what you're
Fuckface.
talking about.
I do. Yeah, like when you have two other referees consult, they go, well, no, it wasn't a penalty. Like nothing happened.
Yeah.
This is
I don't even
why
remember the penalty I called on you at this point.
it wasn't you. DK actually called the penalty. But
okay.
you, because it was the first introduction of our head ref system, you were the one that was like, oh, no, it stands because we've left it too long. And I was like, you have Baden and Darren both in back tower who both watched everything, who both know that that's not what happened.
Fuck you too.
I'm still mad.
But
That
Well, it's
would've
okay.
changed
You
our
can
whole
die
week.
mad. It's fine.
So even
not-
I'm
after
gonna die
your
mad about a
fault,
lot of
DK.
things.
even
It's not
after
your fault,
the
DK. It was
amount of
Sam's fault.
time that we've had with 0-point penalties, referees are still nervous to
Yeah.
hand them out. It's made people a little more confident, and like I think part of that falls on the player base too. Like in the past, the reaction to getting penalized in the game, depending on the player, you would blow up at the referee. Yeah. Oh, what was that for? What are you talking about? And now when a player does that, that reaction affects them so much more. So much worse relative to what
Yeah.
the penalty actually means now. So
Yeah.
Yeah, because now if you sit there and throw a rager afterward, you're the one who looks like an idiot.
yeah,
It's like, what are you
so
what are
bro,
you complaining about,
got
dude?
deactivated. Who cares? Like just
Well,
reset yourself and go again.
I think the other thing about the 0-point penalties, like or the why people are still a little nervous, like we implemented the thing, and then the world ended for a few years, so we lost
Yeah.
tournament
That's
time
part of it.
Yeah.
where
part of it.
where it would have
The
basically
adjustment.
the adjustment, the ingraining it into the player base. So we really lost like 2.5 years worth of
Yeah.
getting people used to doing it.
It's a little bit of that, and I think since we have player referees, it is also still. I think most people want to give players the benefit of the doubt
Yeah.
when they're in a situation and say, well, if it were me, I wouldn't want to get penalized if a referee wasn't sure. So
That's right.
if I'm not 100% sure, then I'm not going to ding him. And
Yeah.
like it takes a while to kind of try to push that out of people, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. But yeah, it does suck when the refereeing or lack thereof changes the way the event finished. Because I can only think of one Laser Force event off the top of my head where I felt that the tournament turned out differently because of inconsistent refereeing.
Troy will penalise you any day. Type in.
Loveland.
Oakley.
Yeah, it was Loveland 2015.
Yeah.
Is that what I was
yeah.
thinking? Yeah.
What I will say is that I think, and I'm going to use a Steve anecdote here. I'm not going to talk about netball though. I'm going to talk about rugby league and rugby union.
Oh yes.
Anything that isn't Laser Force is fair game on this one.
But I think the thing is that for anyone that knows like rugby league, rugby union, right? So for the States players, this isn't anything in relation to you, right? There is two very different ways the players treat referees. In rugby league, they blow up at the referee.
Yeah.
And it's like football, right? You watch the EPL, they blow up at the referee.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah, they
go
do.
bananas. Rugby union,
There's
yes sir, no
tolerance.
sir, sorry sir,
Yeah.
my apologies sir. And I think that's something that Laser Force can learn from Zone, because Zone referees like rugby union, you can't have a go at a referee.
Yeah.
If you have a go at a referee, here's a red button.
Yeah.
Good luck to you,
Yep.
right? You want to go again? There's another one. Oh, third time lucky, out of the game.
Yeah.
Like, off you go, toddle on. So, yeah, it's one of those things that I think
happens less,
it's a
though.
cultural difference. It does happen less.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to happen none at all.
None.
I think there
Yeah,
actually needs to be a
correct.
penalty as soon as you interact with a referee, other than saying, "Excuse me, sir, what was that for?" or "Excuse me, ma'am, what was that for?"
Yeah, and I think like the new blood, I think that are coming through. Like I haven't seen anyone really blow up at a ref like people used to,
Basil.
like, or at least not
Careful,
that
the
I can
Basil bots will
remember.
get us.
Oh, that's fine.
They're always
Let them
fucking
try. They've been trying to get me for years.
But yeah, like I think as the mind shift changes, the vernacular around how our penalties, like, I noticed that with some players, they're like, oh, such and such is cheating. We got to get rid of that vernacular out of our terms, because most of what happens is not intentional, and that's what cheating is, right? Cheating is usually an intentional thing. So yeah, I think we're moving in the correct direction from our force scene. Hopefully it's something that also happens in the zone scene, because
Well, the zone community, refereeing wise, especially at the Australasian Championships, is fantastic, because they've actually introduced a rule. It's a rule I don't agree with, but I also understand why it's being introduced, which is you cannot reverse a penalty. So I'm a master referee at Zone, which is why this whole head refereeing thing in Laser Force came about, right? Is that I saw their master refereeing system and I went, why do we not have that? That's fucking brilliant. That's actually a great idea.
Yeah, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, you've definitely adjusted it since like the first like pre-concept and then the first concept of it. But I just thought it was a fantastic idea. Why do we not have senior referees, master referees, head referees, blah, 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 blah? Why is there not a grading system? There's gradings of players. Why is there not gradings of tiers of refs? And then that way we can put aces in places rather than having bad referees in certain spots and good referees in certain spots. And so, yeah, being a master referee, I can turn around and I can go, you made the wrong call. That was the wrong decision. But I can't overturn it.
Right.
And that's purely because the amount of argument that you would get from them turning around and going, oh, well, that shouldn't have been a turn, blah, 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 blah. Look, there's camera footage, blah, 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 blah. Like, well, no. Simple as that.
That's what
no overturning.
0 point penalties rectify most of the time,
Correct.
right? Is taking away the severity of the consequences, which the comeback for that is, well, then people are probably just going to cheat more, push the envelope more. I don't think we've seen that happen.
I don't think that's happened
since we've implemented, because people want to play, for the most part, in the spirit of the game.
A clean game, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what Taipan was saying. Like, culture and the culture expectations you set make a difference.
Yeah.
So the fact that, I'm not going to say that we never had people who push the envelope in our scene, but by and large, we've kind of like either they have matured and become good functional citizens, or it's like they've left the scene because it's like we don't need to do
we don't tolerate it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is that giving people that room to develop and grow within a scene is super, super valuable as well.
For sure. But you need turnout for that. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
And time. We quite literally have elder statesmen of the game now because we've been doing this thing for 30 years.
Yeah.
But also, like, lost a bunch of time, which has really with closure of sites and COVID and stuff. Like, it's thrown some haymakers. But what I found really interesting, we won't go too much longer because we've been on for almost 2 hours, but it's fascinating talking to you. What I find was one of my biggest misconceptions was Zone was a simpler game when it come to like rules, because my thought process has always been, like, Zone players don't want to play by our rules because we've got an overcomplicated rule system, but it's actually not the case. Like, you guys have just as many, just as obscure rules as Force. Yeah. So, like, in some instances, I find our rule set actually maybe a little bit simpler, where if you can get your head around the chasing rule, and you can manage to show a shoulder, then those are the two most complicated ones. Yeah.
Yeah, everything else kind of falls into place. And I think that's the thing with Zone, right? Is that for so long, and in Queensland specifically, right? Like, Queensland was probably the battleground state, right? We were your Pennsylvania. Donald Trump, my dude, Donald Trump. You have to beep again. I said it twice. So yeah, it's one of those things that there was this little bit of traction of crossover. So there was this traction where you had Laser Force players like Tish and I think Jared did it as well, and there was a couple others went and actually played Zone for a little bit. And then I think there was a little bit of traction coming from like Mad Cans and Butsa to try and play a little bit of Laser Force as well at Brisbane. But the attitude at Brisbane at the time was very, very toxic. And where Queensland was in Zone at the time was very non-competitive and very non-confrontational. So
Yeah, that's a
that's
that's a clash
so
of
it's
cultures
this,
right there.
it's this cultural difference,
Yeah,
right?
that was a
Where
bad
in
culture fit.
2009, Queensland's at the height of its power in Queensland, like in the world of Laser Force, right? Like Trudge at his best, Fredo at his best, Rusty at his best, Jared at his best.
And no other sites had anywhere close to that level of experience
no.
or edge.
No.
And yeah, like you had players like Andrew coming through, me coming through, Mark Mallet coming through. Like there was this generation coming through that was going to be good as well. So it wasn't just like this, hi, we've got this. It was a hi, we've got people that can be better than this, which is just a crazy thought process, right? And yeah, in Zone in Queensland, it wasn't that. Now, at Sunshine Coast Nationals in 2009, the Maroons actually won. But there was no other teams from Queensland that would really contest them. So the reason why they won is because it was a home nationals. Home arena advantage. They had the edge. They had the packs. They had everything, right? So, yeah, at that time when there was the start of a little bit of crossover from Zone, there was a little bit of crossover from us as well, but it was the intensity that Brisbane was playing at. And that causes massive issues, right? Because there's this deep-seated, we don't like them. That's not what we want to be from the people in Zone.
Which is kind of healthy.
So, yeah, like when you had this new generation of Zone players come through and Queensland's dynasty kind of kicked off in 2015 all the way through till, I would say it's still kind of going, right? Because 2 seconds and a third place in the last 2 nationals is not the end of a dynasty, right? It's still 3 grand finalists out of 4.
Especially when you're talking about players who are past their physical prime.
So for Zone, what it is it's that concept of, oh, well, we've come through. We have the best system in the world, right? In terms of how they would generate league players. They had the best league system in the world. Both Sunshine Coast and Lawton often generating 30 to 50 players. This is mid-teens, right? Mid to late teens. Why would you want to play Force? There was no reason, right? We did have some players come across. So Shaz was one of the original Maroons. He was their captain. He was their captain that won in 2009. Came to play Laser Force. But went from being a god tier Zone player to a mid to high tier Force player.
That's an adjustment.
Yeah, and then you had a player like Snake who came and played in Brisbane for a while as well, who has won 2 nationals in Zone, but again, just a mid to high tier SM5 player. And it's just that difference. It's that crossover. You very rarely have the crossover that someone goes and plays it and wins. Someone goes and plays it and is successful in it. And like we were talking in New Zealand, I think Armageddon is the way to go. In Australia,
well, I mean,
ANZ,
there's no reason why it can't happen at both levels, right? You have national level here, and I assume national level in Oz, and then you have Trans-Tasman level, because you know we traveled fairly easily between the two. So
absolutely,
I think there is definitely scope for getting to take off in Australasia. it just takes. I think it takes leadership from both sides to do it. And
Yeah.
I was talking a little bit to a couple of people while I was up at Zone about the concept of potentially kicking off Geddon. And yeah, there's certainly some people I think that could be motivated to play. It's just whether or not you can find a happy mid ground for the way that the styles are played. Like I watching you guys play Zone, I was like, I don't think I could play this. I'm not physically capable of playing this game at a high level, because it's I think the way Zone players move is far more physically demanding than the way we move. We're all
100%.
We're speed.
It's a different
100%.
Yeah.
It's a different style.
Oh,
so
yeah.
with Worlds format, I'll say right now, my lower back and my hips have never been more sore.
Get that button ready.
Like the twisting, the twisting and the dodging and everything to try and get out of shots in Worlds doesn't exist in Zultag.
Right.
So in Australasian Championships, that does not exist. Okay, you do not try and dodge a shot.
Why?
You're going to get shot.
Right. Okay.
And there's no point in dodging. You're going to get shot.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like trying to dodge a missile in Gen 8. Just don't bother.
See, yeah.
Pretty much.
But like,
Right?
I guess that's our whole thing, and we talk about like the fluidity of Space Marines versus Zone, with resets and stuff. That's maybe why it takes it out of our knees, and like, we're trying to move around more versus trying to like stand and dodge and kind of quick shot and
And knees, ankles as well, because you go sideways in force.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that is taking the full brunt of it. Whereas in Zone, in saying that in Australasian Championships, it's knees and ankles as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's not hips anywhere near as much. It is knees and ankles with the drop shots, with the dive. So diving is very much like a tennis shot. It's very short, sharp, quick, and you're stopping.
Yeah.
Right? And you're putting a lot of force on your ankle and knee.
Yeah. I don't know how you guys don't have broken noses and shit, man. Like, the speed at which those phases fly around is just fucking crazy to me.
It has definitely happened.
Whap! Ouch! Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because the way that they build mazes and maze design is super important to Zone.
Yeah.
Because the least amount of blind corners you can possibly generate, the safer it's going to be.
Right.
The less collisions, less issues.
Yeah.
In Hobart, so Hobart was our nationals not last year, the year before.
Right.
I think there was about 6 hospital trips.
Oh, fuck that.
Oof.
You get a
There was.
This seems like that's amateur numbers. I can do that by myself.
That's just me one day dislocated my shoulder.
Dave.
Yeah, like we had a player on our team split his head open. That was all by himself. That was no one else. He ran into a wall like an absolute muppet.
Came out of nowhere.
We had a stage 4, a level 4 sprained ankle from a player coming round a corner and standing on him.
There's a 4th stage now?
Yeah, I think so. It's the grading.
That's when it turns around.
It was broken without it being broken. Was basically how they described it.
Yuck.
Like he basically ripped everything to the point that like it was close enough to snapping. It was not good.
So
and that was just from our team.
so basically his ankle really was cunted.
Yeah,
I
proper.
believe that is a technical term for it.
It's like one of those clackers. Just,
correct.
Yuck.
And the worst thing was that he was our float in Hobart.
Right.
And so our game plan had to completely change. Like we were looking at finaling in Hobart and ended up finishing 7th.
Wow.
And it was just so unlucky. Yeah.
Well, look, I was gonna like ask you some stuff around Nats next year, but I think we'll finish
We'll
up.
save that for part 2.
Yeah. Are you in training? Are you back playing Force?
I'm not playing Force yet. So
Not yet.
we have Sunny Coast Nationals coming up. And it's something that me and my team are really striving to try and win.
Awesome.
I would love to be the first player ever to win both.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm at with like writing my name in the history book. I kind of looked at it back a little bit and went, I'm never going to chase down Brent. I could be
Yeah.
second, but I'm never going to chase down Brent. There is
Yeah.
no way in the world that like he's. I would say he's Brady, but Mahomes is just there, right?
Hey, shut your whore mouth.
Mahomes isn't only going to do it; he's going to do it in style. He'll moonwalk in. That's all right, Steve.
All right. Take the
Jalen
button away
Hurts
from
is
him
Jalen Hurts is going to lead the Eagles to a Super Bowl, so it's fine.
Yuck.
Don't yuck me. Yeah, so it's one of those things that I want to focus on winning both.
Yeah.
That's the goal. That's the dream. That's my little page in history.
Well,
I
that would
don't
put
know
you.
how.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there anyone that's done it?
No,
Interesting.
I
no
certainly can't think of anyone.
no one's come close. I'm the closest, and I've got a third place in
Yeah.
Doesn't
in
Micro
Australasian.
has?
I was gonna say Taipan and Micro are the only two people I could plausibly think of who might have done it.
Yeah.
Who even could plausibly do it.
Or maybe
In
I have no
saying
idea.
that,
maybe
we
Scythe, but I don't know. If
well
he plays
we
on.
had the Americans. Sorry, we sent a team over from Australia to America for American Nats, and they won pretty easily from
Right.
the looks of things. So
Suck it,
to
America.
well, it's not even that. It's the fact that like Australasian Championships is the biggest laser tag competition in the world.
Right.
They generate 24 to 37 teams. Right? It's a
Crazy.
massive competition.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, winning that is the goal. And the teams that have done it
Yeah.
are some of the greatest teams. Like in the last 8 years, is some of the greatest laser tag players that I think will ever pick up a pack. Like it's just insane the level that is played at that. So I want to focus on that. Coming up to like, so it's in May. I want to lose some weight so that I basically have 8 to 12 weeks to train for internationals.
Yeah.
And be in there week in, week out, and get as much time on Gen 8 packs as possible.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm giving myself limited time, and that went so well last time in New Zealand.
Totally.
Playing half the competition with a broken hand. Did you know I broke it? I broke 2 fingers.
I didn't know what was going on by the end of the week.
Yeah, true. I broke those 2 fingers. Yeah, I'm giving you a middle.
I mean, I'm not shocked with how bad you were holding your hand after that happened. But
Oh,
yeah.
and I've got nerve damage in that hand. Like, I can't feel anything. So the fact that I was like wincing in pain,
Yeah.
like, I almost threw the phaser. Get out of my head.
In the,
Yeah.
in the new
So-
year, we'd love to have you back on to like maybe after you
Part
play.
2.
Yeah, maybe after you play Hobart, like we'll get you back on, and then we'll turn an eye towards Space Marines Internationals,
Yeah.
because that's gonna be great in your
I think
backyard.
it's going to be a really good
Yeah.
internationals. And I've said to a couple of boys, I hope they're shining that belt up on the way back across the Pacific, because boy, oh boy, that's coming home. Hey,
Also, get your throwing.
Pretty tall order to beat Brisbane in their home field.
Get your disc
Pretty tall
golf
order.
game sorted, because we're bringing the next LFDGA event. Will be the weekend after Nat. So, yeah, everyone keep an eye out for that. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna finish up because Dan's got to go and do crap.
play football.
This we should have a show next week. It'll be our last for the year, most probably. We'll post up in the Discord if anything changes. I'm gonna try and maybe do some content over the next couple of weeks over the Christmas break and stuff. Taipan, you gotta help us out with this intro, bro.
Outro?
Yeah, that's what I meant. The end of the show intro. Thank you again for coming on, dude. It was really awesome to
Most
catch
welcome.
up with you when you're here. It's always nice to be able to just have high level laser tag discussions with you, because it always
It's fun.
it just, to me, it's just another example of how our community is when we're together. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, appreciate your time.
No,
man.
thanks for having me on.
Anytime you want to come on here, you just let me know. But for this week, I've been Guy Next Door.
I've been Winter 1998 Space Marines champion DK.
I've been Manchester United fan.
And I've been cunted. I mean, Taipan.
Always remember to backtrack, kids, unless you are playing zone, in which case just stand in the corner somewhere, you'll be alright. We'll see you next week. Go get down.